Greetings, students, and welcome to chapter number 19. So this is going to be fun. We're actually going to talk about something that many students are really excited to get into, which is this kind of love and relationships and what is going on during this young adulthood time. So again, don't forget, when we talk about the psychoanalytic theory, or when we talk about the emotional and psychological parts of us, we're talking about Freud and we're talking about Erik Erikson. And so Erikson says that all of us go through 8 stages of development. And our goal is to achieve that developmental stage. So for instance, remember we said our first stage was trust versus mistrust. As infants, our goal is to learn to trust the world. Well, here we are down, and let me see, is this stage number 5, I believe? Yep, 6, 7, 8. And we are going to look at intimacy versus isolation. We're going to talk about how our goal here is to learn to achieve some intimacy. In addition, remember, we are still working on our identity. Just because we're 18 by no means that we know who we are, right? No, far from it. You can be in college and change your major 4 times, right? Because you are not sure yet. What do you want to do? Those are huge questions. What do I want to do in life? Who am I? Right? And so we're still focusing on figuring out aspects of our identity. And here we're going to see that, what our makeup looks like is really changed. We now have 50% of our emerging adults aged 18 to 25 are people of color. African American, Latino, Asian, Native American, particularly in California. For California, it's been that way since 2014, that the people of color are no longer the majority. Latinos and Hispanics are really our biggest population here in California. And so we look different. We look different as far as what the makeup looks like. Our ethnic identity plays a really big role in how we develop and establish self-esteem. And so let's explain how that works. What I mean by ethnic identity is I mean that what do you buy into as far as where your group comes from? So let's say that you come from a family and your one side of your family is Portuguese and the other side of your family is German. Strong sides. How do you identify? When you identify yourself to people, do you identify as I am Portuguese, or I am German, I am white, or I am a combination of those? How do you identify? Which of those cultures do you identify with? Do you identify with the values and beliefs of one of those two more than the other? It's fine, and we can embrace multiple identities when it comes to our ethnic heritage. I think that's very rich. And what we know from research is that the more you decide or determine or feel connected to an ethnic group or your ethnic heritage, the less anxiety you have. It's better for you because it's kind of like you're making a statement about part of your identity, which is your ethnic identity. And so kind of figure out how you feel about that, where you feel you align in your ethnic identity. When we talk about vocational identity, which remember is career, we mentioned before that we typically have not established this in our young years. It takes a long time to get to a place where we can say, this is where I want to be. We do a lot of kind of temporary jobs or jobs to earn some money, but they're not necessarily our career goal. Okay? For this age group, this young people age group, they have the highest rate of unemployment. Typically because they come out of high school with limited skills. Limited skills. They're 20, 19, 18, and how many jobs have they worked? What skills do they have? And so it's hard for them to find jobs because their application may be more or less blank, empty, because they don't have a lot of job skills. And it's difficult to achieve that vocational identity because, like I said, sometimes we need to finish college first. We need to get certified in certain areas first before we get to do what we want to do. Right, happy at work. This is kind of cool. John Holland has this kind of a prism thing here where we can kind of look and see, does your personality align with the type of job that would make you happy? Because we all want to be happy at work, right? Nobody wants to leave the house and go, oh my gosh, I do not even want to go to work. And the whole 8 hours we're punching a clock, we're miserable. We don't want that. We would like a job that we enjoy, that we're good at, that uses our talents and abilities. And so if we are someone who, for instance, is very social, we like to talk, we like to engage with people, we enjoy all of that, then we're going to look for jobs that have to do with counseling, advising, teaching, right? Something that I am working with people, I'm engaged. If we are people who are more artistic, we're going to be looking to work in those multimedia areas, or we're not looking to be an accountant. If we're artistic, that's just not really going to make us happy. Others of us like numbers and rows and columns, and we like structure, and we like all of those different things. So kind of look and see, we want our personality to align with our job choice. All right, so what we find out here is that even though these emerging adults, many of them have left home, or they're now adults legally, parents still play a big role in their lives. So most of our parents of all income levels, they want to help their adult children, financially. Even low-income parents. Sometimes that help comes in the form of living here rent-free, or helping you with some groceries, or helping you with books for college, or whatever it is, but they want to support their children. All parents want to do that. All right, finally, we get to an increase or rising self-esteem. We talked about the elementary school years, and we talked about adolescence, and for both of those different developmental stages, self-esteem is down. That's not good. Here we go into emerging adulthood, 18 to 25, and we see that our self-esteem and happiness is going up, right? And we look at this slide here, and we can see this kind of sense of well-being, and how it gets better and better even through these emerging adulthood years. But really it's because we're doing things on our own. We're going to college and feeling like we're accomplishing something. We're working a job, and it feels good to earn some money and to do productive things. And we're feeling good about relationships, starting to date and whatnot. So it feels good, and this is a positive thing. Keep in mind, though, our personality changes after adolescence. So if you saw me as a high schooler, you would probably not believe the me you see on videos today. I would say I was an introvert, was not interested. I was not the life of the party. I was not the kind of person who even went to parties, right? I would rather stay home and with my nose in the books. I was a total bookworm. That was me. And then as I went through college, and as I had my jobs, and I wanted to be a manager because I loved working with people, and I loved helping programs run efficiently, and I was very organized and all that stuff. And I had to learn, in order to do some of those things, you have to have a voice, and you have to use that voice. And so my introversion really kind of switched to extroversion. Right? Now I'm very social. I love having parties at my house. Right? I love entertaining. I just enjoy people. I'm always going to be the kind who really would prefer to work with people than I do computers or anything like that. So that tells you that our personality does adjust as we get older. Right? In general, we talk about two main personalities here. And that is going to be, some people might classify you as a type A or a type B. The type A personality is somebody who is competitive, driven, tends to get good grades, tends to be an overachiever. This is the kind of person that says, I'm going to climb this mountain because it's there. And it's there for me to go over it. I'm there to conquer it, right? That's how they feel about life. Typically tends to be our firstborn children. So in general, if you have multiple children, for instance, I had 3 kids that I was raising in their young years. And so I got this book. It's called The Birth Order by Dr. Kevin Lehman. It's really good. And what it explains to you is it talks about the birth order, the order of your children, your oldest, your middle, your youngest, or if you have 4 kids or 5 kids, etc. And it gives you insight into why they are the way they are. And in the most respects, our firstborn is typically our type A. It's typically our driven child, our competitive child, overachiever, all of that. And then we get to type B. And a type B personality is someone who is more laid back, right? They're not as driven, not that they're not smart and they're not very good at grades. Sometimes it comes very naturally to them. But they're the kind that are going to say, no, I see the mountains there. I don't really see the need for me to go climbing it. It's already there, right? Why do I have to go do that? Why do I have to achieve that? And so they're much more laid back. Okay? And this tends to be our middle child. Our middle child tends to be the one that they're not the baby of the family. They're not the oldest. And so they fit into that role. But I love this book because it helped me to understand why my kids do what they do, why they are the way they are. It really gave me insight into that. So, but do continue to understand that our personality of who we are is affected by stuff that happened way back when. The childhood experiences, whether they be positive, right? We had affirming, loving guardians and parents or whoever that raised us, or negative, whether we had trauma and suffered abuse, neglect, just had no one to kind of talk to. Any of those things, they do play a role in who we develop into. Now, I will say, don't feel like, oh man, forget it, I'm screwed. You know, I had a miserable loser childhood, right? And so that's it, I'm done for. That's not the case because we need to learn what healthy looks like. How can we adjust your personality? What kind of friends should we have you be around so that you learn these things or learn how to function, how to work in a healthy environment that you maybe did not grow up with? All right, so here we go. Erik Erikson is going to say, our sixth stage of development is what we call intimacy versus isolation. And our goal is to develop intimacy. So when we talk about intimacy is this closeness with another person. And it progresses from like initial physical attraction to this close connection as we continue to get to know someone. And then eventually we decide, you know what? I want to be mano with this person. In other words, I want to be one-on-one. I don't want to date other people. I want to just be committed to this person. And that is kind of that progression of intimacy. And it really comes from this desire that all of us as humans have for social connection. We want to feel connected with someone, not just on a superficial level, but on a deeper level, right? And so that's what we're going to say. Our goal here in these dating years, these young adulthood years, I hope you get out and date, and I hope eventually you kind of develop some type of intimacy. Doesn't mean we're talking marriage. We're not talking that you're married by the time you're 25. That could be, but that's not a requirement. We're just saying you're in relationships. And if we don't successfully kind of try to date and try to achieve intimacy with others, what happens is we end up in isolation. And we don't want that. Social isolation is harmful at every age and in every culture. So if you look at the picture down here, the picture that I have is, you know, if I were to ask you, so what'd you do Saturday night? And you say, not much, just chilling at home with my cats. I got like 8 cats. Okay. What'd you do last Saturday? Kind of the same thing. Chilling at home with my 8 cats. How about the Saturday before? Oh, yeah, me and the cats, we're just on a roll with Netflix and we're just having a good time. That's concerning, right? Because I don't want your cats to be your connection. I don't want them. Yes, our pets do provide a lot of love because they love us unconditionally. And I think when we're single, because when I was single for a long time. When I was single, you know, I totally loved having my dogs. My little dogs were like my babies, if you will. But we also need to get out there. And so I don't want you to be, it's okay to hang out with your pets or that kind of thing, but not every Saturday. Now, I will say, there are times in our life where we are more isolated than others because we're in what I call a season. So for instance, when I was finishing my bachelor's, going into grad school, I worked at Stanford Hospital. And I used to live in the Bay Area, and I worked at Stanford Hospital, and I absolutely loved it because I worked in the nursing department, and I would staff all the different nurses in the hospital, but I worked swing shift. So I worked 3 to midnight. And it worked for me because it allowed me to go to classes during the day. So I would work 3 to midnight, get home, sleep some, and then get up for early classes, and I would do my classes. And it worked for me. Now, I had no social life. None. Because I'm working 3 to midnight during the week, Fridays included, and on the weekend I'm doing homework. And I had a family that I wanted to spend time with. So for that like season of my life, I didn't have a big kind of social active life. But there was a reason. It was because I was focused on a goal. I was focused on an educational goal to then eventually make enough money that I could have good social interaction, right? So there are stages we go through, but in general, we don't want you to be an island to yourself on your own. All right. Some of the other things we're concerned about here with intimacy versus isolation is either one can be harmful to us. Too much of either one can be harmful. In other words, if we have too much isolation, then we're excluded and we're lonely, which can lead to depression, which can lead to, suicidal thoughts and things of that nature. If we have too much intimacy or connection, we might be bordering on or going towards what we call promiscuity. And promiscuity is basically when we have relationships or sexual interactions with people without feelings attached to them. So we become somebody who's just like going from person to person, having sex, but we're not looking for any deeper meanings. We're not looking for connection. I don't really want to get to know you. I just want to sleep with you, okay? And, that's not really the healthiest thing emotionally. It's okay to have an active sexual life. That's okay if that's in your value system at this age. But too much intimacy can be saying that there's something wrong with us inside. When we need to continue to have different partners, it says that I'm avoiding developing a long-term relationship, and there must be a reason I'm avoiding that. All right, friends. So throughout life, friends are always helpful to us. They provide the person to bounce things off of. They provide the emotional support, maybe the physical support, financial support, right? Our friends strengthen our mental and physical health. They do. There's not really too many. The only thing I can say about friends is making sure that they are the right kind of friends, healthy friends, right? If you surround yourself with negative people, the kind of pessimistic people that are always moaning and groaning and complaining about life and the world, if you walk away from hanging out with them and you feel like bummed, that's not a good thing. Find other friends, right? Because I want you to be in an environment where your friends will see your potential. Maybe you're not there yet, but they see good things in you, and maybe you make mistakes and you hurt them, but they forgive, right? So friends can be really, really, really helpful to us. All right, some differences in intimacy when it comes to the sexes, men versus women. All right, so men in general, they tend to share more activities, sporting events, let's go golfing, let's go play some b-ball, an interest with their friends, and they tend to talk about like sports, different things, cars, mechanics. They talk about external things. Women are totally different. Women tend to, we're not like so interested in the superficial all the time as we are in the deep stuff. We want to share secrets. We want to be vulnerable and reveal our weaknesses, right? We want to talk about our problems. And I expect my friend to be a shoulder I can cry on. I do. I remember one time I was at, a shopping mall, and I went into a department store restroom, and in the restroom they have like these big lounges. And so, that you walk into the lounge and there's some chairs and a big mirror and everything. And I walked in, and when I walked in, there was a lady who was standing at the mirror there in the lounge, and she was crying. And so, I just went up to her, and I just said, is there something wrong? Is there something I can help you with? Are you okay? And within 5 minutes, I knew her life story, right? I knew about the divorce she was going through. I knew about the ex-mother-in-law. I knew about the kids and the custody battle. And I knew about her parents, and I knew everything about her. I don't know her name from Adam, right? I have no idea what her name is, but I know everything about her because she needed someone to dump on, and I was there. And that's kind of women. We can tend to do that type of thing. And we expect our friends to be there. Like when I call you after this date, I'm going to tell you what a loser date he was and all that. You better listen. That's my expectation. Men a little bit different. They don't have high expectations of their friends. They're not feeling like, hey, dude, I really got to talk to you about something deep, and like, you need to be there for me. They don't typically do those kinds of things. Now, again, This is generalizations. There's people who are much more sensitive and to, to our feelings than others, but in general. Guys don't talk about the failures. They don't go up to the guys and go, hey, I'm real feeling good about myself because I just got the can today. Just lost my job. That's just not that's not something that they want to do, talk about their problems or their failures. But women, much more intimate. You can see how there might be some challenges here if we have a heterosexual relationship, because what happens is we have women who are talking to their husband or partner, male partner, and saying, so how was your day? It was good. What happened? Well, not much, kind of the usual. Joe was being a jerk as usual. Okay, so how do you feel about that? I don't know, So women are like, give me more. I want more details. I want to know how you're feeling inside. And men might be like, yeah, I don't really feel like I need to share. I don't have anything to say. I'm literally, I had a friend who told me, a guy friend, and he told me that he was driving with his wife one time, and his wife says, you look like you're deep in thought. Please, I don't know. Tell me what you're thinking. And the guy was like, literally, my mind was nowhere. It was like it was empty. There was nothing in my head whatsoever. I had nothing deep to share with her. But she thought he was being really introspective, but he wasn't. And so that can happen, right? So we have to understand these differences and kind of how we're going to work together. All right, so Sternberg describes three different aspects of love. And the first one being kind of that first level of passion. So passion is, again, kind of this physical hotness you have for someone. It's an intense physical cognitive, meaning that you could be turned on by someone's brain, emotional onslaught, characterized by excitement, ecstasy, euphoria. When you are with that person or you see that person, you get the hots. Mm-hmm. Then we go to intimacy. And intimacy is not just that physical kind of passion, but it's also this connection. So now I'm feeling like we're sharing some secrets. I'm feeling like I can trust you more. That's a big one, right? Excuse me. Trusting someone takes us to another level. And so we may now be developing intimacy. And then we go to commitment. And commitment is kind of gradually grows, but it's this place where we feel like, okay, now like I said, I don't want to be with someone else. And we practice forgiveness, which is hard for a lot of people to do. And I wish this is something, again, as I've talked about money, I've talked about having the talk or sex with your kids, the sex conversation. I also think teaching your children characteristics like forgiveness will help them grow into really healthy adults that have healthy relationships, right? Because sometimes if we never saw this, or our parents or guardians didn't show us what this looks like, we just don't know what that means, right? From the time my kids were little, I have tried to show them by example forgiveness, in the sense that sometimes I've messed up. We all do. Right? One time I blamed one of my kids, for knocking something over. I thought for sure it was this kid. Right? So I'm grilling him, son, how could you not tell me about this? And my, my other kid walks in, and I'm going to find out she was the culprit. But I had really blamed him, right? Even though he said he didn't do it. I had to get on my knees, because remember, I say whenever you want to have a conversation with your children or with kids in general, I say get to their eye level. I got to my eye level and I said, son, mommy blew it. Mommy really blew it. I blamed you and I was wrong. It was your sister. Please forgive me. I am sorry. And the first time you do it, your kid's going to be like, this is weird. Like, what do I do here? Because they think adults have all the power, and they think it's weird that you're asking me to forgive you. But they need to learn that, no, we really don't. It's a two-way relationship with you and me, and I need to fess up when I'm wrong, and I need to ask you to forgive me. And you're demonstrating to them healthiness, because you're showing them in their future relationships with friends and partners, this is what we do. We fess up when we make a mistake. And we forgive, and then we move on. You don't bring it up again next time. All right. Something that's not in your book, but it's very much part of psychology, is remember the 5-to-1 rule. The 5-to-1 rule says that in general, all of us are super critical. We are. As humans, we tend to see the negative things about people and about our partners first before we see all the awesome, wonderful things. So the 5-to-1 rule says, every time I want to criticize my partner for something, I need to say 5 good things. I have to think of 5 things throughout the day or whatever it be. In other words, you don't just say the bad stuff. Because it kind of wears on us when your partners do that, right? You want to hear them say things like, I probably haven't told you in a long time. First of all, how hot I think you are, right? Second of all, how I love the fact that you provide for us, right? I just think you're amazing. I love your work ethic. I love the way you can fix things around the house for me if you're fortunate. Man, if you got a partner who can cook, woo, you are super blessed. So I love the fact that you cook, right? That's, continue to say those things and then maybe gradually lead into, the problem is that you always, we're always late because we're never on time. And so we need to kind of work on that together, right? And you're saying it in a way where you're not wagging the finger, right? You need to, right? Because when we start with that approach, all of us, if someone wags their finger in our face or if they start saying, you need to, automatically these walls go up. My defense goes up because you just started off by saying, I need to change something and I don't like it. Right? We start to protect ourselves with those walls. And so it's much easier to say something like, babe, I know you're trying, but it really hurts me sometimes when we're late. Like we were late for dinner with mom the other night. It really hurt me. And I just want to ask if you would really work with me together on maybe we can think of how to like set the alarm, set the clock ahead so that we're like on time. I'd really love it if we could work on that. Now, what did you do? You didn't say you need to change. You said, I would love it if we would change this, right? So you kind of presented it, same thing I'm asking, but I presented it in a way that my partner is not like, walls up because you're ticking me off because you're saying I need to change something and wagging the finger at me. So the way we can say things makes a really, really big difference. All right. So Sternberg says there's several different ways we can love people. There's several forms of love, right? Think of it. The love you have for your child is different from the romantic love you have for your partner, maybe. And so there's lots of different things. Liking someone, infatuation, both of these really don't have commitment in them, right? That empty love. This might be something, so empty love is interesting. There's no passion, there's no intimacy, but we are committed. So a relationship that might have empty love might be a arranged marriage. Might be. So in an arranged marriage, the two individuals have bought into the value and belief of this arranged marriage. And so they may not really have passion. They may not have intimacy, but they're committed. Neither one is going to walk outside that relationship. They're committed. Now, I have had students in the past who come from cultures and faiths that practice this arranged marriage, and they have both been excited to go into this relationship because it's part of their values and their cultural beliefs, and therefore when they buy into it, research actually shows they have a happier marriage than people who met each other and chose each other. Because they have kind of said, I believe in the arranged marriage. I trust my guardians, my adults who have chosen these partners, and we're going to make it work. And I'm going to work hard to make it work. Right? So that's kind of cool. All right. Affectuous love, companionate love. Companionate love, an example of that. So companionate love does not have passion, but they do have some sharing of secrets and they are committed. So an example of this would be maybe someone in their later years who's getting remarried. For instance, I have an aunt, and my aunt lost her husband. He had a stroke in his 60s, and they had been married for 35, 40 years, and she hated being alone. After he died and she was a widow, she hated it. She just liked being part of a couple, part of a family. And so she met someone, and she was going to get remarried. And I remember the first time I was going to meet her future husband. She says to me, okay, well, I just want to let you know, he's not that good looking, but you know what? He's super nice, and he's really good to me. So in other words, at the age of 70, she was not interested in that kind of passion. And he wasn't looking for the same thing she was when she was 18. She wanted a partner. She wanted somebody who's going to push her wheelchair when she's 85, 90. And she would do the same for them. She wanted a companion more than she wanted a lover, in the sense of that really passionate intimacy. And that kind of companion love. Now here in the West, in the US, we tend to think we can have it all, and that's consummate love. So consummate love says you can have passion, you can have intimacy, and you can have commitment, because that's what the movies show us, right? The Nicholas Sparks movies, they go off in the sunset, and you're left to believe the future is wonderful and amazing, and they're married for the next 75 years, and they die old in a bed together and all that stuff. All right, so historical patterns. Typically, number one, first, what we see is today, we see our young men getting married for first marriages around the age of 29, for women around the age of 27. So this has changed dramatically. In my grandmother's generation, she was 19 when she got married, and she was considered an old maid because you were married by 17, 18 at the latest. So 19 was pushing it, right? And look where we are now. So we've moved on with women waiting longer, and I think this is a pattern we'll continue to see. Well, I teach marriage and the family, and we will say the three different maybe killers of our relationships or our marriages is going to be number one, faithfulness. So unfaithfulness is very hard to overcome, because when a partner has been unfaithful in your relationship, you've broken trust, and therefore it needs to be rebuilt again. And so faithfulness is a big one. Number two is going to be money. Financial issues are huge when it comes to relationships because we fight about money if we don't have it. And number three is communication, or the ways that our personalities communicate or work with each other. Okay? So faithfulness, right? And again, as I mentioned, our Western ideal of love is that consummate love. Right, cohabitation. We're seeing a whole lot more of this, right? Cohabitation means living together without being married. And we're seeing a lot more of this happening here. Hookups. What are hookups? Hookups are kind of one-night stands. There's sexual encounters with people that we're not intending to see you again, maybe, or I definitely don't want to get to know you or have a relationship with you. I'm not interested in talking about secrets or anything like that. And today we are living in the world of, we're living in the world of Facebook and Twitter and all the different social media that we have. And that leads to us keeping in contact, right? It's kind of awesome in the sense that, I'm still connected with my high school graduate friends from high school. That's pretty neat, even though they live across the country. And so we keep in contact. 83% of us are using that social media to kind of keep up with people. This is also a big way that we date or we meet people. All right, so again, in the old days, we had more arranged marriages in many different cultures. And then we went to kind of the Gone with the Wind era. Gone with the Wind is my favorite movie of all time. I actually love the Southern type of chivalry that was back in that era. But this was a time when men were gentlemen. They opened doors and they took ladies for strolls. And you didn't even go for a stroll alone. You had a chaperone with you. The man would ask for the girl's hand in marriage to her father first before her. And this was that time. And now we've kind of moved on to a generation of where most people kind of find their own partners and they're doing all that more emotionally on their own. They're getting married later. They're more financially stable and secure. So again, more together, fewer married. We have a lot more of our couples from 1970 to 2015. They're living with partners instead of getting married. Some big reasons for this, what you need to be aware of is number one, research shows you have the same statistic or probability of getting divorced or not working if you cohabitate. So a lot of people will say to me, well, I want to try the cow before I buy it. I want to live with someone first to see if we're compatible before we get married. And they cohabitate, they get married, they still have a 50% chance of getting a divorce. They do. So living together before marriage didn't actually maybe improve or do what you were hoping it would do. Marriage takes work. It does. It's an amazing institution. It's healthy for families, but it takes, number one, maturity. If you have someone who's always acting like a goofball or not being serious, I think you're going to struggle. Good communication. And again, the problem here is that a lot of us, when we grew up, when we were raised, we did not see what it's like to have healthy communication in couples. And so we don't know how to do that. Or we keep things inside because we think, oh, I better not call them because they'll be like totally offended or mad. But it can't fester inside of you. We need to find a way to talk about it in a healthy way. I do think we will have disagreements and arguments and differ. That's okay. I actually think it's awesome when people marry somebody who's very different from them in personality, because that person will bounce ideas off you. They will open up your perspective to ways you never thought before. I think that's awesome, compared to kind of picking someone who's just like you because then they're just like you. So I think it's great or fine to be married to someone who has a different personality to you. What you must have is your values must align. So if you are family oriented, if you come from a big old Greek family where like you sit down every Sunday night and there's like 30 of you at a table and you're kissy huggy and this is your family, and your partner comes from a family where he didn't have that. He didn't have the extended family, his parents or guardians, they're not touchy-feely. You better make sure that that they want to come into your family, because you're probably not going to give it up. And they were not exposed to that. And so how do they feel about valuing family in that way? Financial security is a big one. Like I said, our couples, you need to make up enough money to pay the bills. Not that you're rich, not that you get everything you want, because our wants and our needs are two different things. But if we don't have to fight about the PG&E bill, then our relationship is going to be better for it. But when we add on the stressor of finances or struggles, then it affects our relationship. And definitely, I have a young foster youth that got married, and I don't understand this because she struggled with addictions during her youth, alcohol and drug addictions, and she marries somebody who's an alcoholic. In his mind, he's a functioning alcoholic because he says he holds down a job, which he does. However, every Tuesday night, Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to find him in a bar. And he has a DUI. That's an alcoholic. Somebody who needs to be drinking that often is an alcoholic. And therefore, I don't know why, but she went into the marriage knowing this. And you can bet that they're ready for divorce, because you went into this relationship with somebody who has an addiction, and they can't commit to a relationship 100% when they have something that takes precedent. The addiction kind of needs their attention more than you do in their mind or in their body. Right, with demand withdrawal means that sometimes we have a partner who wants to talk about things right now. Let's talk it out. I know we're fighting. Let's go ahead and work it out. I don't want to sleep on it. And the other partner is like, I just need to kind of process. Give me some time, and I can process, and we'll be fine. And the other partner says, I don't want to wait on it. It's like stressing me out. So what happens is the one partner that wants to be alone ends up going from room to room in the apartment. And the other one's following, going, God, let's go ahead and work this out, Demand withdrawal. Okay. Typically, it tends to be the woman who likes to think and the man who likes to deal with it now. But it could be vice versa. And you need to compromise, right? So the partner who wants to think about it needs to say, I need a half an hour. And the other partner needs to say, all right, we get a half an hour. You know what I mean? You can't have everything your way all the time. And so we do need to compromise on that. Right. Domestic violence or violence against our partners, what we find is that this emerging adulthood, 18 to 25, there's a lot of domestic violence that occurs in this age group. And a big part or reason is because this group is very inexperienced when it comes to relationships. Right? As I said, if you saw that or witnessed that, or, you don't know what healthy looks like, then you tend to take out or demonstrate what you saw with your partner. And so that leads to a different couple types of abuse that we see in our young people. All right, so go through your clicker slides here. I do want to go ahead and talk about, though, a couple different things. This, again, is not in your textbook, but it is, psychology again. What we call the 4 horsemen of divorce, meaning that if you and your partner, and I say the word partner to refer to your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, all those different things. If you're in these, dealing with any of these four, you are definitely headed to a destruction of your relationship. So criticism. Understand that there's a difference between criticizing something your partner does and who your partner is. Those are different. And so be careful and think about your words. So as an example, even with your children, for instance, if you find out that let's say that your partner withdrew $2,000 from your checking account. He used it on something he wanted or she wanted without talking to you about it. And you have this kind of understanding that you discuss major purchases with each other, right? And so when you go to your partner and you're going to criticize them for what they did, you are going to say, I am really disappointed and hurt. And I really want to understand why you would choose to make that choice. I'm very disappointed in your choice. I'm very disappointed in your action and what you did. That's different than I am totally disappointed in you. How could you do that to me? I don't understand you. How could you do something that would hurt me in that way? Now you're criticizing the person. And they're different because all of us are going to make mistakes, right? And we deserve to talk about it and figure it out and kind of get a clean slate for the future unless we continue to make the same mistakes. But in general, think about the difference when you talk to your kids and you're mad about them cheating, right? Son, I am so disappointed that you chose to cheat. Very disappointed in that. However, you're not saying, son, I am so disappointed in you. Those are different because the second one hurts them inside. It can cut to the bone to think I've disappointed my parent, other than knowing I made a bad choice. When my kids leave my house, my teenagers and my young ones, I always say things like, make good choices. My son goes out to parties, which he does on weekends or at nights, right? I say make good choices. And I hope that my son has taken in everything I've taught him during our time together and that he'll make good choices. Defensiveness. So this is hard. When you have a partner that when you go to talk about a problem or an issue, it's never their fault. Nope. They always have excuses. They always blame you. They will never take responsibility. And this is not good. I hope that as you're dating, you're looking for this kind of thing because this person needs to relearn how they think. That's hard to do at this stage of adulthood. So defensiveness. Contempt. Contempt is bad. So contempt is how we show disrespect to our partner. We can do it in several ways as we see here. By making a jab or sneering at your partner, rolling your eyes, my word, whatever, right? Using humor to put your partner down. Contempt is a form of passive-aggressive behavior. So passive-aggressive is some people have a personality where they don't want to directly confront their partner or their boss or somebody. So what they do is they do something that's kind of aggressive and mean, but they do it in a passive way that kind of like it's meant to slide under the radar. And that's not good because I would rather you learn how to be healthy with your words and be able to talk about a problem. So for instance, let's say that you and your partner are going to dinner with the family. You're going to dinner with your parents and you're in, your sister-in-law, brother-in-law, all this different stuff. And you're sitting there at dinner and your brother-in-law is picking up the tab for everyone at the table. And you say, in front of everyone, you say something like, well, Jim, I'm so glad you're picking up the tab. I mean, I really appreciate it, right? I mean, if this guy would ever get off his bum and get like a real job, someday, hopefully, we'll be able to pick up the tab. But that's not going to be anytime soon. Now, what did you just do in front of everyone? As far as I'm concerned, you just mowed your partner down. You just like ran over them with a lawnmower because you humiliated them in front of everyone. And it's passive aggressive because the issue is, why couldn't you have a conversation with your partner before you come to the restaurant about how, babe, we're really, having some financial struggles. So I really want to work together to figure out, maybe we need to go see someone to work on your resume, or what can we do, to kind of improve our situation together. That's a direct confrontation. about a real problem. What is a problem? Can be a problem. Versus in front of everyone, making your partner feel like they're that tall, right? That is not cool. That really shows a lack of respect. You disrespect your partner, and you're not going to make it with that. The next one is the most concerning, stonewalling. So stonewalling means that your partner is non-responsive. Like, in other words, you say to your partner, honey, can we sit down and have a conversation? I really want to talk about some things that have just, been hurting me. Whatever, if you want, if you insist. You're like, well, babe, I really want your input, into like, what are you thinking? What's going on? Why have you been so distant with me lately? I don't know, just is. Okay, honey, I would like a little more. Like, can you, I want us to work on this together. I want to fix it. If there's something wrong, but I need to know what it is. Whatever, it's no big deal. Whatever. That's stonewalling. And what that means is that your partner has already checked out. Emotionally, your partner is gone from the relationship because they don't even care about you enough to fight for you. When people fight, it's not always a bad thing, because we're going to work through something and come out with a better understanding through an argument or disagreement. That's okay. Right? Don't go into the illusion of relationships thinking you're never going to have an argument. But when someone doesn't care enough to sit down and like invest time and even get heated in conversation and even get upset, all those emotions, those are okay. I mean, these are normal. When they don't care, they're done. They're done. And unfortunately, you're looking at what's here. Great. So this here is your activity for this week, or one of your activities this week. This is our 5 love languages activity. And what we're going to say here is that, there's a book written by Gary Chapman. It's been around for a long time in psychology. And it talks about that all of us really respond, or we have one of these 5 love languages. And so these 5 love languages come in, they mean different things. And all of us like one more than the other. So the first one is words of affirmation. What this means is that I like it when my partner tells me they love me. When they say I'm beautiful, I'm amazing, I'm awesome. When they say they appreciate me, I love it. Those are words of affirmation. Those are words that make me feel good. Quality time. When my partner says, every Saturday morning, I'm yours. Every Saturday morning, we go for some coffee, and then we hike together, and I give you all of my time, right? They give me quality one-on-one time, and that, to me, is my love language. I like that. The third one is receiving gifts. When my partner sends me roses, or when my partner buys me something, of course, diamond is being a big one, I love that. So this person responds, their love language is gifts. So the person, your partner, doesn't always need to say, I love you. They don't always need to book quality time with you, but if they give you a diamond necklace, you're over the moon. The next one's actually my love language, and this is acts of service. Acts of service means that, in my case, I'm not a big flower person. I think they die a lot of money. I'm not into gifts. I'm pretty low maintenance. I don't need the words of affirmation and quality time. I'm busy, right? But you know what? If you wash the dishes for me tonight, I am like over the moon. In other words, my love language is acts of service. When you do something for your partner that they would normally have to do, right? So if my partner would take my car to get the oil changed, or wash my car for me, do dishes, things that I would normally have to do, I really appreciate it. It speaks volumes to me, and I don't really care for the other things, right? Some people respond to that. And the last one is physical touch. And by this, I don't mean sex. By physical touch, I mean your love language is when you hold hands with your partner. You love sitting down watching movies together all cuddled up, right? You love the hugs, and you are a physical touch person. And that's your love language. So there's no right or wrongs in any of these, but we all are geared to one more than the other. This also works for your children. It does. My oldest child is gifts. For her, whenever I go on a conference or I go away, if I bring her home gifts, she is over the moon. They could be small, little tiny things. She's over the moon. She's not a touchy, lovey person. She just doesn't like all that. Right? My youngest, my baby of the family, oh my gosh, this girl is definitely physical touch. She, as a child, was on my leg, like stuck on it. Like every time I walked, she was on it. So she has grown up to be physically attached. She's just, for her, she just loves being close to me. She loves that physical. My son, my middle child, is all 5 because he's rather high maintenance. I joke about that, but he really responded to many different love languages, and being that middle child is an insecure place in the family. And so sometimes those children need a little bit more from parents in that way. You can probably think of your partner and maybe what they respond to. So your activity for this week is going to be to go ahead and complete the love language quiz, and you will find out what is your number 1 love language, and you need to share that with your partner. So you need to say, babe, you know what? My love language is gifts. So babe, look at a second. Yeah, you can get me gifts. I don't care about the words. You don't need to make quality time for me. You know, all that stuff, but gifts, right? Whatever it is, let your partner know. Because you will respond, because, you know, think about it. In my life, I've had gentlemen who have given me roses. I've had one guy who used to write poems to me, and it really just didn't do it for me, you know. But if he'd have done something that helped me out, I'd have really appreciated it. So it means that we do like some of the things the other people do for us, the other type of love languages, but there's one that would really send us over the moon, right? And then ideally, if you're in a relationship, have your partner take the quiz, because more than likely, their love language is different than yours. So if your love language is quality time, you need to share that with your partner. Okay, babe, I really like it when you carve out time just for me, and we do something all the time. You know, that makes me over the moon. But you come to find out theirs is physical touch, and they love holding hands and being all that. Well, then you need to do that for them. So enjoy your activity for this week, and I will then see you for chapter number 20.